Welcome to another episode of Voice of the Disabled, produced by Adapt of Chicago Productions and broadcast by CAN TV. With me today is my guest, Mr. Alexander
Brown.
Who is director of Friedman Place on Chicago's North Side. Could you tell us a little bit about what Friedman Place does?
Freedman Place is a supportive living community for adults who are blind. We have a great big apartment building on the northwest side of Chicago. We have 85 residents from age 22 to over 90 years old. The only thing they have in common is they're blind. Half of our residents are totally blind, half have significant visual impairments. We're very much like an assisted living, but not quite.
When you say visual impairment, what is the threshold for eligibility for Friedman Place? Must a person be legally blind? But totally blind is not a requirement.
Correct. So technically someone has to be legally blind, but we can be a little bit flexible. So if someone's vision is getting close to legal blindness, but it's getting worse, we're not going to make someone wait until they cross that line. As long as they're getting close to it and their vision is progressing, we know they're going to end up legally blind in the next year or so, we'd accept them as well.
So there are cases where someone might have vision of, for instance, 20/150, but has a deteriorative condition. They'll move in and then they'll become illegally blind while they're living there?
Exactly. Of our 85 residents, there are probably 10 who, from this distance, could identify you have long hair or short hair, or your shirt is lighter color or darker color. Those are the folks who really have the most vision. Most people have far less.
Now, when you say 85 residents, that clearly is phrased in the plural. However, does that mean that everyone living there is a single unmarried person?
No. Almost everyone lives individually in their own studio apartment. They have a small kitchenette, small fridge, sink, and a microwave, and a full bathroom. They have their own apartment. We have 7 one-bedroom apartments that are mostly for couples. So even people who are living individually, just like anyone else in the world, they may be in a committed relationship, they may date, they may have relationships. The folks in the one-bedrooms, many of them have 2 people in them. Those are couples, whether they're married or just living together.
When you say studio apartment, does that mean that it's one big room with a kitchen along the wall?
So you walk into you walk in the door, and there's sort of a foyer area with a kitchenette on one side. Fridge, microwave, sink. You walk, 5 or 6 feet through that, and then you're in the main room. And then on one side is a separate bathroom. Our residents control their own heat, they control their own air conditioning. The apartments come with cable TV and a phone line.
Now, you said their own bathroom. Does every apartment have its own bathroom?
Absolutely. It's a full bathroom with a roll-in shower, because some of our folks need that. And there's a bench that folds down as well for those who need it.
Okay. So every room has its own bathroom?
Correct.
Okay. And when you say a roll-in shower, some of our viewers might not be familiar with that. What is a roll-in shower?
So if someone's in a wheelchair, it's instead of a big bathtub or a big step to get into the shower, you can literally roll in. There's just a little ledge. But even someone who may have some difficulty walking, whether using a walker or not, stepping up into a shower is difficult. So it's one small little ledge, a little bit more than the threshold of your door, but not so much that anyone can't maneuver through it.
Could a wheelchair go into it?
A wheelchair can fit right in there, and modern wheelchairs can get wet. You can actually take your shower sitting in your wheelchair.
Do you have any residents who are in wheelchairs?
So today we have 1 person in a wheelchair. Everyone in the building is at least legally blind. 90% of our residents have at least one chronic health condition unrelated to their eyes, most commonly diabetes, but also heart disease, arthritis, asthma, and on average they have 5. So our residents are with us because of their chronic health conditions, their medical needs. They choose us because they're blind. So right now I think there are only a couple people in wheelchairs, but it's not uncommon that people, because of their medical conditions, will periodically need to use a wheelchair. And then in a few months, their strength is better, their condition is better, and they're not using it. So a lot of folks will use it when they need to, but not all the time.
So if there is such a thing as the typical Friedman Place resident, it's a person who is legally blind but has other medical issues as well?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, does that mean that you provide nursing services at Friedman Place?
So our philosophy is that we provide whatever kind of service, whatever kind of assistance that someone needs. So we have nurses there. Most of what they do is help people with medications, but they can do anything. We have certified nursing assistants who also can do almost anything. There are a small number of folks who actually need assistance taking a shower. The CNAs can do that. Other folks just need some assistance, for example, selecting their clothes so they're color coordinated. Whatever folks need. So the nurses are there to assist at whatever level someone needs. The certified nursing assistants are there to provide whatever is needed. We also have social workers, activity staff, meals, a wide range of things.
Now, does that mean that most people take their meals in their rooms?
We have a large communal dining room. We have extended meal hours. So folks come down when they're ready for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They sit down, they order their meals. We always have 2 entree options. One is a healthy choice option. If you don't like what the entrees are, you can always order a sandwich or pasta or pizza off the side menu. Most people find it nicer and more convenient to eat in the dining room, but some folks prefer not to. Pick up their meal, go up to their apartment.
When you say extended meal hours, does that mean that someone does not need to come literally at a specific time to eat?
So one of the changes we made a couple of years ago was this extended meal hours. We used to have much shorter time, so you pretty much had to come down at the same time or almost the same time. And our residents didn't like that. So breakfast is from 6:15 to 9:30 in the morning. Lunch is from 11 to 1:30. Dinner from 4 to 6:15. So you can come to the dining room anytime during those hours and have your meal.
So if, for instance, I didn't want to eat breakfast until 8:45, I could come at that time, have my breakfast, eat my breakfast, and then return to my room.
So you can come down at 6:15 for breakfast, or breakfast runs until 9:30, so we ask that you not order after 9:15. So you can come down at 9:14 in the morning and order your breakfast.
And for lunch, I could come in at 1 o'clock and still get my lunch?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And dinner, I could come at 6:15 and still get my dinner?
Yes, if we ask that you not order anytime after 6:15. So 6:15 is fine.
And is that true of meals 7 days a week?
7 days a week, absolutely.
Okay.
What's different is on the holidays. So for example, the July 4th holiday is coming up. For all the big holidays, what we do is a big regular breakfast and then a big lunch. So I know for July 4th, it's going to be barbecue for anyone who wants it. If you want something else, you can always order something else. And then we give a brown bag for dinner. So most people are stuffed after the lunch, and then they just take a brown bag. So those are just for the major holidays.
Okay. If someone wants to take their meal in the room, may they do so?
Absolutely. Most people prefer to eat in the dining room. There are some folks who never eat in the dining room. That's absolutely fine. They come downstairs, they order their food to go, they bring it up to the apartment.
Now, in the dining room, do people sit individually or do they have group tables?
So it's all group tables. There are larger tables, smaller tables. Most people tend to sit in the same spot for every meal, but some people move around, and it's totally at their discretion. Our folks are blind, so sitting in the same spot is very helpful to do, but people move around. I'm eating at the same table for 6 months. I like my table mates, but I want to change. I move over to another table.
Okay. And as long as they come within the time period, they get a full meal, okay? Now, do they have to go to some counter or some ordering spot to receive the meal, or is it served to them?
It looks more like a restaurant. So you come in, you sit down, and one of the servers will come to you and say, these are the entrees that we have today, what would you like? And you order your individual meal. It's prepared for you, whether it's to go or to eat there.
And does that mean that the various utensils for eating are at the table?
Again, it looks an awful lot like a restaurant. So the tables are set up with silverware, napkins, and then the dishes and meals, everything are brought to you.
And the beverage is also served?
Yep, so you order, for usually there are different kinds of servers. So usually when you sit down, the first person to come up to the table is going to ask for your drink order. Can I get you something to drink? And then the next person will order your meal. Will take your meal order, which usually comes within, depending on what it is, 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay. And you mentioned the drink orders. Does this mean there's more than one beverage available?
So we always have 3 or 4 different options for juice. There's water, coffee, iced tea, milk, soda certain days of the week. There's a wide range.
Are alcoholic beverages prohibited?
Aha, good question. So our residents are adults. We are not a regular apartment building, but our residents are adults. So alcohol is absolutely permitted. Pretty much whatever you do in your apartment is your business. You can't drink alcohol in the common areas, in the dining room, in the hallways. But if you want to drink in your apartment, that's your business because it's your apartment.
Does that mean that there is alcohol served on certain holidays?
No, not in the common areas, not in the dining room, not even for special events. We don't serve alcohol, but if our residents choose to get alcohol and whatever it is, a beer, a glass of wine, whatever they want in their apartments, that's their business.
So on Christmas Day or Thanksgiving or the like, people might have alcohol in their room.
I would go so far to say that perhaps even on lesser holidays or more frequently.
Holidays, though, raises the issue of different types of holidays, okay? What holidays are observed at Friedman Place?
So we're a non-sectarian, not-for-profit organization. So I guess it depends what you mean by observed. So for our staff, the major holidays, we have light staffing. So New Year's Day, Christmas Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day, those holidays we try to have as few staff as possible, and that's one of the reasons that we have abbreviated meals. So July 4th, there'll be relatively few staff in the building, the big brunch and a brown bag dinner. So that's the extent that we observe holidays. Certainly I know we're going to have a 4th of July party before the 4th, and we have a holiday party, a New Year's party, things like that.
And in addition to the regular meals, okay, are there special meals on certain days?
I'm sorry?
Are there special meals on certain days?
I think all the meals are special, but certainly there are sort of extra special ones, certainly on the holidays. A couple of years ago, we started having these special brunches as well, Sunday brunches. So I don't know, it's maybe every other month now it sort of changes, where there'll be a special brunch with a much, much wider array of options.
Now, does Friedman Place provide simply the studio apartment and a meal, or does Friedman Place offer something else?
So the arrangement is, if you're a resident of Friedman Place, you have a wide range of services to choose from. Whether you use them or not, they're all there. So you have the nursing services to assist you with coordinating your health care, managing your medications, anything like that. You have the certified nursing assistants. You have 3 meals a day plus a snack. You have social activities. Some of our residents take all of it. Some of our folks choose not to. It's totally up to the individual.
When you say a snack, what, for instance, might a snack be?
So we always provide healthy options, but I'll be honest. So around 7 o'clock each evening, there's a snack in one of the activity rooms. There are always apples, bananas, fruit, but I'll be honest, those aren't taken all that often. It's more chips and cookies and things like that.
Okay, but with some of the residents being diabetic, okay, are snacks something of a problem? For instance, what is available for the diabetic that might be sweet?
There are always going to be sugar-free dietetic options. Our nurses and our other staff spend a lot of time educating people how to manage their health, manage their various medical issues. But we really try to respect our residents as adults. So, our nurses and our other staff can advise, you shouldn't have so many chips, you shouldn't have so many cookies because you have diabetes, for example. But if the person wants to do that, they're an adult, and we're not going to stop them from doing that.
Now, with diabetics on hand, are there people taking insulin?
40% of our residents have diabetes. A number of our folks at any one time are on dialysis and are at different stages of kidney failure. So a lot of our folks are on insulin. And some of our folks are more independent, can manage it themselves, can take their sugars on their own. For others, the nurses do that for them.
Does this mean that the nurses actually deliver medication to the rooms?
So people get medications in different ways. A small number of people come up to the nurse's office once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, and the nurses administer the medications right there. For some of our folks, the nurses fill a medication tray or a bubble pack, and they give it to the person, see you in a week, and then they come back a week later to get it refilled. For some of our folks, the nurses fill the medications into a tray or a bubble pack, and then a CNA will come around at 9 o'clock and say, hey, Joel, it's time for your medications, I'm just reminding you. And then they do it themselves.
Now, you mentioned the nurse's office. Is there a central nurse's office at one place in the building?
Correct, right. They don't move around. We're not a nursing home. We're similar to an assisted living, so you're not going to see nurses with, a medication tray, a cart, rolling up and down the hallways, bringing medications to people. Our folks are able to come up to the nurse's office and get what they need.
Where is the nurse's office?
It's on the 5th floor. We have 5 floors. It's a great big apartment building.
Okay. Now, you mentioned activities. What are some of these activities? Clearly, you don't have a bowling alley, but what kinds of things do Freedman Place residents do with so much time?
So we do not have a bowling alley, but every Thursday we have a bowling trip. So there's a bowling club. Folks go bowling. Anyone who wants to gets into one of our big buses, goes bowling. We have activities in the building ranging from bingo, Uno, crosswords, book group, arts and crafts, music. Music is huge at Freedman Place. And then we have outside activities. So we went to Great America a few weeks ago, theater, concerts, sporting events, things like that. We're unusual in a number of respects, and one is all of our residents are blind, and we have a huge weaving program. So we have a weaving studio. At any one time, 15 to 18 residents are actively weaving. So about 3 years ago, we purchased the building right next door. We put a canopy between the 2 buildings. You cross this little tiny enclosed space, you're in our weaving studio.
And what in the world is in the weaving studio?
There must be 25 looms, and some folks will weave as often as they can for years. Other folks will do weaving for 3, 4, 6 months and then stop and then come back.
Now, most people are not professional weavers. How do they learn to operate the looms?
So we have weaving instructors, and there are certain tasks involved in setting up the loom that you really do need vision for. Very few people, even who have some vision, can do that because it is so detail-oriented. You really need vision. So the instructors set up the looms, and they teach people to weave. And people can weave at different levels. There are several people who, once the loom is set up, they're independent. They just weave. Other folks need more one-on-one assistance and support, just like anyone would learning to weave.
Now, you mentioned a variety of activities such as concerts. You literally take people to concerts?
So we have a couple of different options. We're all about options. So we have activities that we sponsor. So we have a big bus, holds 14 or 15 people, and we have a van. We go out on outings, concerts, theaters, sporting events, whatever people want to do, and we decide what to do with a resident committee. So we have an activities committee, group of residents. They decide what we're going to do.
Now, what types of concerts might people attend?
Well, that's a good question. just like anyone else. Some of our folks are more interested in classical, some jazz, some rock and roll, whatever people are interested in. We also have something called independent outings. So if a resident wants to go on some kind of activity on their own or with other residents, we'll pay up to $25 of the admission charge. So if
Really?
someone wants to go to a concert or a sporting event, we'll help them buy the tickets if they need, and we'll pay $25 of the admission cost. And some of our folks use the independent outing benefit a lot, and others don't.
Could someone actually attend a Chicago Symphony Orchestra concert?
And they do, absolutely.
Literally go all the way downtown to Orchestra Hall?
Sure, you bet.
Huh,
Yeah.
remarkable, okay. I'm half expecting that one of these days I'm going to pick up the newspaper and there's going to be a rock concert at Friedman Place.
Perhaps. The Rolling Stones are in Chicago, but I have not been able to book them at Freedman Place yet.
Now, although this may strike viewers as odd, okay, do you have residents participating in any type of special athletic activities?
Judo class is a common activity, and
Judo?
there are a number of folks who are involved in judo. A number of folks will go swimming, but again, it's important to keep in mind that all of our residents are blind, but they're with us because of their medical conditions. And on average, they have 5 chronic health conditions. That's why they're at Freedman Place. So physical activities are sometimes a challenge depending on how someone's medical conditions are going.
I'm amazed, though, to hear about judo. Clearly, I should not trifle
Do not.
with the feelings of a Friedman Place resident if some of them are doing judo.
Yes.
That is remarkable. Does that mean that there are Friedman Place residents who engage in something such as going sailing?
So there is a sailing program for folks who are disabled in Chicago, and it is extremely popular with our residents. And in the summertime, they go sailing regularly.
At the Park District or at some other place?
It's in the lake, in Lake Michigan. You know, it's a funny model. We're not a nursing home, we're not even assisted living, but we're more than just affordable housing. But our residents come and go as they please. We used to have a sign-out sheet where people would sign in and out. Most people didn't bother doing it, so we don't even do that. People come and go as they please. We lock the doors in the evening, but every resident has a key card, and they swipe themselves in, swipe themselves out. It's pretty independent. People come
Does
and go
that
as
mean
they
that a
please.
resident who returns after a certain time at night, okay, finds their way to the door and uses the key card?
So a resident comes home at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're going to find the door locked, they're going to swipe their key card and the door opens, or they'll press the doorbell and a staff person will let them in.
Now, with all residents who have either blindness or limited vision, does this mean that some residents have a seeing eye dog?
So Freedman Place encourages people to get guide dogs if they want them and they're appropriate. So right now we have 4 residents and 2 staff with guide dogs. We encourage people, assist them with the process. We also pay for food, basic veterinary care, and grooming. We have a guide dog relief area on the property. We think it's a wonderful thing. It's not for everyone, but for anyone who needs it, Freedman Place is very, very welcoming.
So if I am blind and come to live at Friedman Place, I could bring my guide dog with me?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll pay for the food and the grooming and basic veterinary bills.
You mentioned sailing, okay. Where does the sailing take place?
It's at Lake Michigan. There's a program. We have them come in once a year and they discuss the application process, and I don't know how many folks, at least 10 residents regularly sail in the summer.
My goodness, how in the world do they get there?
So we're located on the northwest side,
At
which
what
is
location, Alexander?
5527 North Maplewood. We're at Lincoln and Bryn Mawr.
Is that the Budlong Woods neighborhood?
It is Budlong. It's near the Budlong Library. It's fairly close to Swedish Covenant Hospital. We assist people connecting with PACE. Almost all of our residents are eligible for paratransit. The bus picks them up, takes them, and brings them back. The Chicago TAP program, the taxi program, is very, very helpful. And our independent outing benefit, the $25 sort of admission tickets, help people as well.
So you have people going to a variety of activities, okay? On a Friday evening, someone might be seen leaving, okay, to go to a rock concert, okay?
Yes.
Someone might be going to a CSO concert,
Yes.
okay? Or a variety of other types of musical events.
And we might not even know it. So it is supportive living, and as I said, people come and go as they please, so you're not signing out. There may not be someone at the front desk, depending what time you're leaving. This is your apartment, your home.
Now, does that mean that Freedman Place residents can and sometimes do go to religious services?
Absolutely. We hold Bible study in the building once a week, because that's something the activity committee decided on. We have several residents who are Catholic and attend St. Hilary's up the street. One of our residents cut a deal with the priest that the priest gives a Sunday sermon and records it, gives it to the resident who brings it back, and on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock in one of the rooms on the first floor, you'll have a dozen residents listening to the sermon that a priest just gave 2 hours earlier. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Are there any residents who are Jewish?
There are. So historically, we were a Jewish organization, but we are not anymore. So for many decades, we were the Association for Jewish Blind. We were the Kagan Home. This was a Jewish organization, and times have changed. So we've been in our current location about 15 years, and right now about 10% of our residents are Jewish, and none of them particularly observant. It's part of our history. It's something we're very proud of, but it's not who we are today.
Does that mean that Freedman Place started within the Jewish community?
So in 1933, a group of adult blind Jewish men got together to help one another.
Where did this take place?
On the northwest side of Chicago. And in 1935, they incorporated as the Association for Jewish Blind. Located on Foster Street on the northwest side, the organization grew and grew. Things did change, and ultimately we moved into our current location, to this new modern building that we totally renovated and increased in size quite a bit.
When did you come into your current building?
About 15 years ago, 14, 15 years ago.
Okay. And you've been there at that location ever since?
Correct.
Okay. It sounds like it's quite an active place, to say the least.
Yeah.
Okay. For many blind people, the issue of crime is a very frightening thing. Okay, but you do have people leaving the facility. Okay, for those who are there most of the time and who are concerned about crime, what can you tell them?
Well, I can say that we've never had any real problems. So the former alderman who just left proudly bragged that this ward is the safest ward in the city of Chicago.
And for those who would like more information, how do they obtain more information?
www.freedmanplace.org.
That's FRIEDMANPLACE.org?
Correct.
Okay. And what is your telephone number for those who want to call?
773-989-9800.
And those who wish to call may do so at any time?
And ask for Alexander.
Which is you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that sounds like you have a very impressive facility.
Thank you very much.
To say the least.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank you for coming to us today, Alexander Brown. Okay. For those of you who did not catch us from the beginning, this is Voice of the Disabled, produced by Adapter Chicago Productions. My guest today has been Mr. Alexander Brown, Executive Director of Freedman Place. And for those of you who have been with us before, we urge you to return and visit us again. Thank you for listening to us, watching us, for those who can, and we hope that you'll visit us again at Voice of the Disabled. Thank you very much.